The if function is a very unique, very powerful function formula that has a very specific purpose. Instead of it just giving us just a result, it gives us a choice of results based on a criteria that's built into the formula, as you'll see here. Here we've got a grade roster, all these different tests these different students have been taking, and they've scored the numbers that you see there. Column V are the averages for all the students. Got a number of different calculations I want to do here. The first one over here in column W for honor roll. What I need to do is come up with a way of showing the letters HR, meaning that they're on the honor roll, for all of those rows where in column V it's 90 or more. All right. Now you could do this by hand, go in there and type in the ones that you see there, but the problem that you're going to run into with that is that if maybe you're starting from the beginning where you don't have the numbers in there yet, so you get done maybe with the first two tests, you've got your average, you say, okay, so far each of these people, you know, whoever they would be, have, you know, 90 or more, so I'll put HR in there. But then as more and more tests go in there, it's going to change the average for the better or for the worse, and thus then your HR column is going to have to be updated. That's going to be a real pain. And if you could imagine literally having hundreds, if not thousands, of students in here, this would be a real mess. So the better way is to have a formula in there that says, look at the average. And if the average is greater than or equal to 90, then put HR in there. And if it isn't, don't put anything in there, let's say. That would be the example formula. So that's what we want to do. So how would we do that? How would we make that happen? All right. And see, this way, by putting the formula in there, it constantly, you know, looks over your whole worksheet there. If anything changes, it automatically updates. I mean, that's a great thing. Anyway, so the way we would do this is we'd say equal the letter I, okay, and there's if at the very beginning. So we'll do a double click on if, just like that. And we're basically saying if what's in V3. Now I can't click on to V3, so I'm just going to type in V3. So if V3 is greater than or equal to 90, then I want HR. So what you do is you put the HR in quotation marks. Anytime that you have text going into your formula, you have to have it surrounded by quotation marks. We've done that with some other examples, but this is it's no different here. And then if not, so if it's true, put HR in there, right? Comma, if it isn't true, in other words, it's false, then two quotation marks, which means nothing. Okay, put nothing in there. Or if you want to put something else in there, you can do that. I just don't want to put anything else in there because it'll get too distracting. I'd rather just say, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one, and not have to like visually discern, is that honor roll or is that the word no, you know, kind of thing, right? So we hit enter. There's HR. You copy that down. There you go. Now you're sitting there saying, well, Chip, wait a minute. How come Alex, having got 90, is not in the honor roll? Because it actually rounded it up visually. If I go in there, and I'll just give you an example here. If I put another decimal place on this, maybe a little bit wider so you can see it, it's actually 89.6. So sorry, Alex, you didn't make the honor roll. You didn't make the grade. How about that one, right? So that's why that happened. All right. So anyway, so that's the first one. Now the next one we're going to do with the if is instead of giving them an HR, if they get over, if not, nothing, instead of doing that, we're going to give them a little bonus. So here we're going to say if they get over 90 or more, we'll give them $100. If not, we'll give them $5. We'll give them something, okay? We'll be nice, all right? So we hit equal, letter I, there's if, we can double click onto that. So again, the test is going to be if V3, so I actually click on a V3 now, I can click onto that. So equal, and I got my V3 there, right? Is greater than or equal to 90, then $100. So no quotation marks there because that's a value, that's a non-text, so you don't need to put quotation marks in there. Comma 5. So if they don't get over 90 or more, then they get $5. Enter that in. Go ahead and copy that down. Let's do it down to there. And there we go. So that worked out pretty good. All right, now the teacher also gets a bonus. Now here, what we're going to do is if the student gets over 90 or more, then we're going to take whatever that number is times 10, and that'll be in dollars, and that's what the teacher will get as a bonus, as an incentive to get that grade up, you know, or to get that average up for every student, really. On the other hand, if the teacher isn't successful and you have a number of people less than 90, then we'll at least give her a times 2. In other words, we'll give her 2 times whatever the amount is, the average is. So the teacher will get something, all right, for the effort. So, but we're giving the teacher a lot more, you know, if they get over the 99 or more there. So how do we do this one? This is interesting. We'll do an equal. We'll do our IF or just I, whatever, but we'll get if, double click it there, right? So it's going to be if this number here, right, is greater than or equal to 90. If that happens, then we want to take that same number, right, and multiply it by 10. If not, if they don't get over 90, right, 90 or more, then we'll take that number. Now I can't click onto it, so I'm just going to have to type in V3, okay, times, now in this case, the number 2, all right? Enter that in. So evidently, this was at the 10 time one for the first one there, and this was for not. But so I mean that's a big difference, right? So that there definitely is incentive there. All right, now for the next one here, what we're going to do is the traditional letter grades. Very simple. If it's over 90 or more, an A, 80 or more, a B, 70 more, a C, 60 or more, a D, and if not, F. All right? So what we're going to do here is a nesting of the if function. All right? And it's kind of a unique way they're going to be putting it in. You'll see it, you'll understand it, and you'll remember it. And if not, you can always come back to this example and look it up and then apply it to what you're doing at work. All right, so we start out with the equal. Letter I, we got our if in there, okay. So if the average, right, if V3 is greater than or equal to 90, then, look at this, in quotation marks, an A. Okay, well, what if they aren't over 90? Well, then we have to do the test again. That's the key here. Comma, hit the letter I, you'll see if. So you don't need to put an equal in there, you just need to get the function in there. So if this is greater than or equal to 80, then, in quotation marks, a B. Well, what if it isn't that one? Well, we do the test again. So we'll do, again, we'll do the I, and there's our if. So if this guy here, and I'm probably going to have to do the V3 by hand, so I'll just type in V3. If V3 is greater than or equal to, in this case, 70, then we'll do a C. Well, if it isn't, comma again, another if, all right? If V3 is greater than or equal to 60, okay? If that's the case, if it's greater or equal to 60, then we'll give them a D, all right? Now, another comma. If it isn't an A, a B, a C, or a D, then it has to be an F. That's the last thing. On the very last one, when you're doing this, you don't need to put another if in. All you do is just in quotation marks, we'll put the F. All right? Now, you'll notice along the way, we did not close off that left parenthesis. Okay? So at the very end, we have to close them off. And that was what I was talking about before, a little uniqueness to this compared to most other functions. So we're going to do a for those. So for right parentheses. Once you've done that, hit the enter key, copy that down. There we go. That's pretty cool. All right. Now, recently, an updated function has come about, or new function, I should say, really, and it's called IFS, IFS, okay? It works very much like if does. The only, I guess the big thing about it is that when you're doing nested ifs, or if, I should say, the if that we just got done doing, that's what we call a nested if. You don't need to put the if in each and every time, all right? So let's just do it and you can see what I'm talking about. I mean, it's you have to put in less, but I'm so used to doing it the other way, I still prefer the way we just did it to this way, but, you know, that's just me. But I will say that it is going to save you a little bit of work using the newer version of if, which is the ifs. So I'll let you be the judge here. So we're going to do equal IF, and you'll see ifs down there at the bottom, so double click that one. So in this case, we say ifs what, or I just say if or ifs, whatever. But if V3, so over here, V3 is greater than or equal to 90, all right? Then we'll put quotation A in there, right? So not much different there. But now what will happen is you put the comma in there, and now we're just going to say V3 again. So we're not going to have to put the if in there in the left parenthesis. We just go and click on to V3 again. So in essence, if V3 is greater than or equal to 80, then we'll put a B in, right? Comma, V3 again, greater than or equal to 70, then we're going to put in there a C in quotation marks, comma, and then V3, okay, greater than or equal to, in this case, what we got, 60 now. Then, so comma and quotation marks D, comma. Now, for this last one, okay, we don't just put an F in there, okay? What we have to do for this one is if V3, so we'll do another V3, if V3 is less than, just plain old less than 60, if it's less than 60, all right, then they get an F, see? And then you just have to put your one parenthesis in there because you have that at the beginning as well, see? So there it is. So I'll go ahead and hit the enter key. Copy that down, there we go. Now, look at the difference. There's the original, and then here's the other one. So a little bit less, all right? because obviously you're not putting the ifs in there, right? But that's it. So hopefully understanding the basics of how the if or the ifs works will help you with some of your worksheets, because I think most people that work with this program on a regular basis, that if function really comes in handy for a lot of situations, and I'm sure it'll be that way for you guys as well. So enjoy using that one, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Take care.